Welcome back to Watercolor Studio 42. We're going to be doing a little bit of an experimental thing today. I brought quite a few Q-tips along. You can buy these boxes, I guess mostly at the pharmacy, and Q-tips. You can use both ends and whatnot, and it's just something that you can use to give your paintings a little bit of a different texture. So I'm going to use a combination of course, using the brush, get some solid color in, and then use the Q-tip. To do the whole picture, the sky and the ground and the water and everything, just with dots, would take probably more than the time we have. So what I'm going to just do is use the Q-tips mostly for texture, like the shrubs and bushes and so forth. But I'll probably still use the brush, one of my thin brushes here for some of the grass texture. This one here, my little thin brush is, they call it a rigger or line brush. It's a thin brush, but and I'll probably apply some of the solid colors in with the brush, and then use the Q-tip along with that. So keep in mind, this is experimental, but you can use other things to use for painting with. Sometimes you can use pieces of sponge. I usually use the natural sponge for texturing and so forth. And just about anything, Q-tips, anything that you can stamp with, you can do your painting, okay? So let's give it a try. If I'm doing an outdoor picture, I usually start at the top and put in some of the sky. And to make the sky a little bit smoother, not that I'm worrying too much about it today, I'm just going to put some light water in here to start off with. Just paint in the sky. Don't have to be fussy. It can go right to the edge to the tape. And just put some of that sky back in here. Okay. All right. Now, if you feel that you've got a little bit too much water, you can just take a paper towel and just lay that on there. Just tap it a little bit light and get that water to settle into your paper a little bit sooner. The paper that I use is 140 cold press. The brand name is Waterford Saunders, or Saunders Waterford paper. It's a company over in England that does this type of thing. Now, see what we have. Oh, I might wet some of this area in here, because I might put some little tide pools. The water that comes in with the tide, but then when it goes out, it leaves these little pools. And so I might put some of that in here. Okay, here you go. Now, let's see what we got. All right. Now, again, I'm going to be using the brush, and I'm going to put out what I already have out, my some blue. And this blue I use is phthalo blue, but it's very much like cerulean blue. And we're just going to get some blue up across the top here. And you can go a little bit darker, just mix it in with some water here. You got water also on your paper. Now, you might find that you go a little bit too heavy sometimes, so I just kind of temper it down and pull some of that blue quickly across here. There you go. Get that, spread that right out in a hurry here. And a lot of times where you want to put, or leave, I should say, some clouds, you can just leave some white spots on your paper if you know you're going to have some clouds in that particular area. Here we go. Usually across the top, the sky, the meridian way up there over your head is usually darker because you're not looking through so much of the density of the atmosphere, the ground atmosphere. Okay, so let's get this a little bit spread around here. Now, I don't know if I could try with the Q-tip what that can do. While the paint's still wet, I suppose you can use the Q-tip for a little bit of texture, but not too much just yet. So, let's spread this around. Now, if you want the clouds to have a soft edge, what you can do while the paint's still wet is just pull some of the edge away, pull the edge out, away from the, see how you soften it out? And you can also run your brush through here and use the brush like a sponge and just lighten some of that out. Just pull some of the paint out like this. And of course you can always use that paper towel that you keep handy, and you can also pat it, and that takes some of the paint out. You want to lighten up the sky across here. When we get down near the water level, what we want to do here is just make the sky probably just a little bit lighter down near the water line, which is down around here somewhere. And it could be like off in the distance. Sometimes you're looking way off across the ocean. There might be a little bit of a mist that might be coming in. So I just take sometimes and just lighten up the edge, almost the white of the paper, just for the fun of it, to see what we can do here. All right, got that in. Now, some of these tide pools, if you want to put some of those in, you could drop some of those little pools here. I'm going to make it so it's like stepping stones, so that you can go from here over here and kind of do that type of thing. So you kind of walk in and around the tide pool. This one's a little bit dark, so I take some of the paint out of this area and distribute it somewhere else, in one of these other areas that you have here. Now again, you could take that edge and you can soften it down, lighten it up if you will, and work it in that way. You can always kind of adjust this a little bit when you're doing this type of thing, as far as how you want to work it. I always like to make the path or the water kind of go in on a diagonal, so that it takes you back up into the picture. In this case, we want to take you to the focal point, which is just a sailboat that might be off in the distance here. I put some tape down there so to protect the white. We can put some color around that too, go over that. Okay, there might be some ground in the background, some land way off there. We'll see what happens as we go along. Okay, if these kind of look okay, whatever that word okay means, we'll just leave that. Okay. Just put maybe a couple more little tide pools in here. This is the tide pools. Usually the children like to get their sand buckets out, and those are the areas that they like to play in with the water. Water's shallow, nothing that is going to affect them too much. And we'll just put some of these in, maybe a little bit across here. Okay, get some of those spots in there. Now, take another clean piece of paper towel. Now I got some effects going across here. Sometimes it's the water when you're working with the paper flat. The water just settles in and it creates some sort of what we call water stains. And so if it looks okay, I don't have to change it too much. I just leave it that way. So you do have a little water stain here and there. Okay. You have to make a decision sometimes as you go. You might have an idea of where you want to go with it, and then when you start putting some color on the paper, it starts changing, and then you say, okay, I'll go that way, whatever you want it to do. Then when you get to a certain point, you have to sort of indicate where you want some sand and ground to be in there. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to make sure my brush is clean, and then I'm going to take a little bit of my raw sienna, which is, let's see, raw sienna right here, over here, and I'm just going to put some of that color in. It kind of makes a nice little sand color, and drop some of that in. You're going to see some integration of the colors on the paper. So all the way down through here, let's drop in some sand, okay? And if you start light, usually you can cover it up if you have to. Make it darker. Oopsie, that's kind of dark all of a sudden. But I can pull that out. Now this bottom area, actually the paper, I didn't put any water on it. So what I'm doing now is just putting dry brush effect across here. The only water this area is getting is from the brush, the paint on the brush. Okay, let's do this a little darker down through here. I always do the base, the bottom of my paintings a little bit on the heavy side, especially if it's an outdoor picture. I just make it a little bit heavier so it acts like a support or a foundation. And it deals with, of course, your foreground, you got your middle ground, and background. You get those three areas that you're dealing with. And like I was saying, if it gets a little bit too dark, I can always lighten it up. The paper does dry relatively fast because we got the TV lamps on, and some, they heat up somewhat, and so that doesn't have to be too much of a problem. I'm just going to go back up, right up into here too, push some of that into here, right along here. Could be sort of a little bit of the beach opening here too, where the water comes in. All right, put some up in here. And I just want to get some color, maybe some background up in here. This is going to be bushes and trees that might be growing up. What happens is, if you don't cut the grass, it grows longer, and if you don't trim the bushes, they kind of overgrow. After a while, Mother Nature kind of comes in, kind of takes over, and pretty soon, if you want to clean it up, you got yourself a big project. So you don't want to, sometimes when you're doing yard work, you don't want to let it set too long, because then you end up with a big project. More leaves, more bushes to trim, you name it, huh? All the time. You just fill that in, just get some color in there. Okay, and I think I'm going to have something off here that's going to be coming in, some more bushes and trees. So let's give that a sort of a base color there. Put some color in here. Don't want to get too heavy because we want that to not to take too long to dry. There you go. Yeah, some things happening in here. And I don't know what else I could put in here. Probably I'll leave that alone. I'm going to put some, eventually I got to put some water back there too for the boat. Otherwise the boat's kind of dry docked here. Don't want that to happen. Now, let's see some more. Put some more color up in here. Just break it up. The edges can be kind of soft. I go right to the edge because I've got tape around it to make a kind of a false frame. You'll see what it looks like when I pull the tape off. Okay, let's cut into here. And actually you're doing a lot of drawing with the brush. You don't have to draw too much with the pencil. You kind of do a lot with the brush. I do a little bit, obviously, with the pencil just to lay out the composition somewhat. You don't want to start with a completely, well, you can start off with a blank piece of paper with nothing on it, no marks or nothing. You can do that. Okay, let me see if I can pull this thing in here. Pull it, drag it right out. And again, I'm trying to make this kind of so that we kind of move a little bit diagonally into the painting. Okay, see, it's got sort of make steps up here. Pick it up over here, something like that. Step into the painting. Okay, yeah. So this is just laying down, so to speak, the foundation, the base color. And then we take it from what we have and add some extra little texture, some grass growing and all that sort of thing. Put some other textures up in here, whatever we have. Now, I didn't have to put in the tide pools in there. I could have left that out and just made that just sand. But I thought I'd make it interesting by putting some more of that in. I'm referring to a picture over here a little bit, but using it for a reference, not really copying it. I have trouble making something a copy of anything exact. I probably mention that every time I paint. I said, jeepers, if I'm looking at a picture, I'm certainly not going to make it exactly come out the way the photographer intended it to be. Let's make that a little darker through here. Okay, so again, like I was saying, this is just a little bit of the foundation color that we're laying in here. Okay, here we go. Now, when I paint, also, I want to remind you that I kind of move around. I should mention that more often. You can see that I'm jumping around a little bit. I don't particularly finish in any one area because I'm kind of letting the water settle in and do its thing. Like I did with the sky, I left that little water stain up there. Hey, it looked all right. It's not in that picture, but it's going to be in my painting, I guess, unless I take it out. Watercolor, you can do that. If you don't like anything, you just wet it and reactivate the color and take that color right out of there. Take it right back out. Supposed to be a tree off here. I think over on this side is sort of a bush that comes up in here. A lot of times when you're starting off, you want to kind of paint loose. And I always tell everybody to start off with using a larger brush. You use a larger brush so that you're not getting too uptight in the beginning. Hold it back a little bit, you know, at the balance of the brush, and just kind of jump around a little bit with the color. And if you try to be too precise or accurate, sometimes it shows up in your painting, you know, where you get kind of tight with it. So you have to kind of keep certain things in mind when you're painting. You want to keep it loose if you can. Okay, jump around here. All right. I'm going to put a little bit of a dash of a darker shade right in there. I've got my my other color that I use is sepia. That's really a deeper color. But I'm going to just save that a little bit for something else as we go along. Okay? All right. Now, I'm going to pick up some of those wet spots so that we're letting it dry out. We're letting it dry out a little bit more. Okay. Yeah, right, yeah, I can get that in there. That's no problem. Now, I'm letting the sky dry a bit. I'm letting some of the foreground dry out a little bit, so that maybe we can start doing some little things with the Q-tips, possibly. But if you start too soon, let's say if this background, the base colors are too wet, what happens is that you're not getting a real sharp, distinct, you know, shape on your paper of the texture. So you do have to let it set up a little bit. Well, a lot of times when I'm working, I'm in a hurry. You know, I'm not letting things dry, and so I have a little bit of a problem kind of backtracking on that somewhat. So that's why I'm kind of settling down a little bit here. Now I'll probably, the finishing touches, I might get a little bit deeper here and there, jump around again in places, you know, and fill it in where it might need some extra work. What's funny about watercolors is as it sets overnight, even though you think it's dry now, it even dries out a little bit more. So tomorrow morning, you look at the picture again, it's much lighter. And I must say that it looks better a lot of times. It just comes out better after it's had overnight to dry. And to me, anyways, some of the things I do just look a little bit better. So the sky we did first, that's drying pretty good. And now we got to just let some of this foreground dry. I'm going to start mixing some shades of blue and yellow, and see if we can get some good shades for some of the green. I think I want to go a little bit deeper eventually with the greens. Now, I'm using Gamboge yellow with my phthalo blue, which is like a cerulean blue. And I'm just mixing, you can see I'm getting some shades of green. Now, if you want to make your green a little bit lighter, just add water and dilute it down. The more blue you put into the yellow, of course, it's going to start going more blue. So if you want to get back to some more green, you just put a little bit more yellow back into it, stir it around. Now that's kind of a lighter shade of green, and let's try some Q-tip in here. See what happens. All you're doing is taking your Q-tip and tapping all over the place here. You're getting that texture in there. Now, we'll have some trees up in there. We're going to do some texture here with the Q-tips. Okay, now, what I've noticed here is that I'm in need of a little bit more paint. I start with always a lighter color. You yellow first, and then if you want to change your color, you just put a little speck of, the blue into yellow to make a darker shade of green. And if you want to make more of that, just add more water and thin it down, and you get a darker shade of green, but also you get a little bit more wet on the Q-tip. So let's keep working in here with the stipple. Now I do the stippling also towards the edge, and when you do trees, you don't want to make them too much of a circle. You want to break it up and have it kind of push out a little bit more. If you do a whole painting with just polka dots, it's called Pointillism. It takes forever. There's some artists that like to paint with a lot of texture, though. Some of those dots can merge together and make a solid area, which is okay. We can go way out into here if you want with the texture. Now, let's say, for example, you get tired of the tapping. You want to go back. You can use a brush in here too. Combination of texture along with a solid color. So just showing you what happens. I'm not going to use that big brush this time. Let's start off with well, we can use a flat brush, so about a 1/2-inch flat brush, and you can take the color you're working with, and you just put in some solid areas along with the tapping texture. With the brush, you can cover and fill in more paper in a hurry. That's for sure. So you're going down here. Now you can show some of this texture. Let's work on this one. I'm going to fill this in a lot more. We can go way up into here if you want. This one can go, probably up into there. Go right to the edge. Okay? Now I'm running out of paint there. You might say, how can you mix the exact same color again? Well, probably you may not. But let's start with yellow again. And then we'll take a little bit more blue and mix it around. Ooh, it's getting really darker there. Oh my goodness, wow. That's really dark. That's almost, wow. Which is okay. Because in nature, you got sunlight hitting some of the surfaces, so you can get it a little bit darker with the color, especially down underneath the plant where the sunlight can't get to it. So we'll put some dark into here. give some dark over here. Let's go to the edge with some of that dark in a hurry here. Put in some of that solid color. Okay, let's make this dark in the corner. There we go. Now while we're doing all this, you can also go back, and if you get tired of tapping with the brush or using the brush, go back and use your Q-tip again. What was the one I was using? Got lost in the pile here. All right, it's that one. Let's put some water on that. Okay, you can go back in and do some more tapping with a Q-tip. And you can actually use a Q-tip to, like a brush, if you want to spread some of that around. Okay, so there's some texture there. I'm going to put some yellow on my Q-tip, take some blue, mix it around. Boy, that's really dark. Let's add some yellow back into that. That's really dark. See what we got here. Wow. That's not bad. It's dark in the picture I'm looking at anyways. Especially the in the corner. Right in the corners here. Now if that looks too much like a solid shape, we can kind of break up the contour again. You don't want it to make it look like too much like a circle. You just distort it a little bit more. Break it right up. Okay. Get that broken up over here. Now what you want to do while you're tapping here, take some of that dark color, and we're going to use some of that over here. We'll put some of that in here, integrate some of that into that darker green. Again, that can go in the under part, down into here. Okay, just tap a little bit in there. And kind of just make sure you're breaking up the contour, pushing it out. Okay, you get some nice color there, huh? Really nice. Actually, my color is much brighter than the picture I'm looking at, which is fine. I kind of like a nice color in my paintings anyways. I don't like things to be dull, for the most part. Let's come across here a little bit. Put some of that in. By the way, some of these things could be rocks and pebbles. You can eventually use your Q-tip for that. I'm going to put something in through here. Kind of break that up. Here you go. Actually, using Q-tips is kind of fun in a way. You kind of don't really know exactly what's going to happen, but that's all right. Let's see. Put them down that corner. I like to make the corners a little bit darker. So I'm going to just shade that corner. And see, I'm using a Q-tip almost like a paintbrush now. And spread it around. There we go. Spread the paint around. Now, what would be fun sometimes is not to use anything but Q-tips. The whole picture can be done with Q-tips. And sometimes the Q-tip kind of gets a little bit out of shape. So what I do is pick up a fresh one. You can dip it in the water if you want first. Okay. And just move around in here. Just creating some texture. And let's do some, let's see some more over here. We can get that worked in. I'm kind of following a little bit of the contour of some of the pictures that we have here. Something like that, give it some texture. Sometimes you get a better texture with a Q-tip than you can with a brush. Unexpectedly, it kind of looks a little bit different. Yeah, a little bit out into here. Just a sprinkle of something. It might add some color there. I might want to pull that out of there though. Maybe later I'll pull it or make some taller grass. I think I'm going to put some taller grass in the foreground. They don't have it in the picture here. Move that out. Like I said, if you get tired of tapping, you can go back to your brush again for a while and pull some of the paint around. Dab with the brush. We could go a little bit into here. Break that up. Maybe a little bit more across here. Okay, something like that. And kind of distort the contour, break up the contour a little bit more. This could go up a little higher there. This side you can go up into here a little bit more. See how I jump around here, there, everywhere? Yeah. That I don't like, so I just fill it in a little bit more. Make it more of a solid area. Okay, so you get the idea of how this is working out. So now I have to come back here, and I'm just going to put a little bit of the water across there. And so I don't know if I'm going to use the same brushes or not. I don't need that big one. I don't need this one so much. Let's dry that off. I'm running out of towels here. I got one left over there. Just use this one for pinching the brush. Okay, now we want to put a little bit more of that ocean back in there. Oops, see daisy. There we go. Maybe I'll use this one. How's that? Use this one. Okay, now we want to put some of that blue back in there. My water's a little bit green, so just to be on the safe side, of course the ocean can have a little bit more green to it anyway, but we'll just start with clean water here. And we're going to go back to using our phthalo blue again, right? Here's the brush. Okay, make sure we get that nice and dry, clean. Okay, let's go back and use a little bit more blue. And we're going to put a line right across into here. Go right across. Water seeks its own level, so it has to be nice and flat. We'll put some ocean in there. And the water is going to be a little darker blue than the sky. Put that in right across in here. I'm just going to have that kind of fade off on the ends. And let's bring it in, push it across there. Take it across here a little bit more. Okay. I try to make that straight as I can without having to put tape down. And we'll pull this across here a bit. There we go. Now I could put some more land up there in the distance, possibly. Let's put some of this and thin that out. I'm just going back and forth. And you can show a little bit of white water towards as you get towards the beach. I'm just trying to get the effect I'm looking for. I don't want to go uphill. Or downhill. Water seeks its own level, so sometimes you have to just pull it out. Let's give it a little pinch more blue in here. Just pull that out and go across there. Now I want to pull this out here. You know, when the water comes in towards the shore, it kind of has a little bit of foam to it. So towards the beach here, it might be a little bit lighter with the foam. Let's take some of that color and pull it over here a bit. Back and forth. That's all we need. We don't have to show the water being rough or anything, because from a distance you're not going to see that much detail. Just get it kind of, show a little bit light from the sky showing through. Gets a little bit fussy in through here, but it's not bad. Yeah, so we'll get that straight there. Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to tamper with that too much more. I'm going to just let it set and dry. Now, this is up to you. If you want, you can show a little bit of where the water does come in, breaks in here a little bit, and you can bring some of that color. Now that we see how light it is, you can just give it a little pinch of more color in here, but you just have to be careful that you don't get it too green either. You don't want to have too much green in it, but you can put some more texture in there. I'm going to do a little bit more texture up in here too. While we're thinking about it, just fill this in and kind of make the contour a little bit irregular. Just pick up some of that color. Okay, go back. If we want to use our Q-tip for a little bit, we can do that. Put a little bit more color in that background. Just break it up. Okay. So you can have a lot of fun with texture, my gosh. Use all sorts of different things to break up the area. Put plenty of texture in there. This side probably you do less. You don't have to do as much of the fussy stuff because that's further away. Something that's closer to you, you spend a little bit more time defining some of the stronger detail. Okay, there you go. Now, we got some of this done. what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to use my little rigger, and we're going to put in some grass. Now, I'm running out of color here, so let's go back in, and I'm going to put some more yellow. Mix light color first, a little darker shade into it. All right, mix everything around you get on the palette here. There you go. You got some darker color there. All right, now we're going to take our brush here. They call it a rigger or a line brush, or sometimes they call it a scripto brush. It does all the line work. Now, what you do have to make sure you do have done is it's got to be drier. You notice when I apply see how I lift up? So all that grass is going from thick to thin. And you don't have to be too fussy how it's growing, because Mother Nature kind of does its thing. So I'm just going to put some texture of the grass in here. Fill it right in, especially along the bottom. The base can have a little bit more texture to it. But you can get some grass into that corner. Then you might want to have some other things, grass over here. See how I lift up when I do it? Kind of just place your brush down and just pull up, lift up. And it doesn't matter which way you go with it, because Mother Nature does its thing, it just looks natural. Okay. Now you can put a little bit of that texture maybe in some of this area out here. Don't go too much with it, but just some little texture there. Just for 3 of something. Let's see what else we could add. Let's put some more of that grass texture maybe off here somewhere. Shorter. Or appear to be shorter anyways from a distance. Put some texture in there. And how that works. Kind of distribution of the texture. Now, I got a little speck over here, so I'm just going to hide that with some more grass in there. Maybe some shorter blades of grass right across here. See how that works? Now, you can put anything that you want. You could have something darker here. It could be like a piece of driftwood or something that floated ashore, whatever texture you want. I don't know if I'd add too much more into this, other than you might want to show, like maybe if you wanted to put a limb or something connecting certain things in there, you might put a limb or two in. But don't get too carried away with too much of that. Maybe just a suggestion here and there. Now, what I'm going to do here is also, I want to do a line across the bottom here, and that's the body of the boat. So I'm just going to put a little line into there. Okay. Here's the bottom of the boat. There we go. That's about it. That's that. You don't want to get too fussy with anything, really. Because, what we're working on. Off here, if you want to show some land off here, you can put a little band of that in. But again, I wouldn't go into too much fussy detail, just a little bit of a thin line. I want to find a brush maybe a little bit larger than the rigger. I don't know if I have one. I don't know if I have one that thin. That's all right. If anything, sometimes I can sheet a little bit. I'm just going to put just a little bit of line in there. We'll use a pen and just show a little bit of land off in there, off in the distance like that. Just a little hint of some land back there. Excuse me. I'm getting froggy. Now, I'm going to just hit this just to give it a little bit of texture in here, just some specks in there. And sometimes just a speck might look like a building or something off there. Might. Just you don't have to do too much of that, just a little bit. A little bit of texture. Okay? So now, excuse me, I'm losing my voice here. I use this water for my paint, but it's clean water. I sometimes, my throat gets a little bit dry, like now. Now, I'm just going to add just a speck of texture just in here. Doesn't have to be anything, it's not a solid line, just to break that up in there. A little bit over here maybe. A little bit more texture with the pen. And, excuse me. Another thing you might want to add too is right in the foreground, you might want to put some pebbles in there. And I'm going to do that with my, a clean one. Let's put that in with a Q-tip. Let's see if I can manage that. Let's see, I don't want a redstone. Let's see if I can do something. Just some pebbles. Like that, some rocks up on the beach. Just to add some texture. Yeah, something like that. Just to break up that area down there. There's a lot of little fuzzy work that you can still do with this. I don't know how much time you'd want to spend on it. But I have also put a little piece of tape here so that I saved the white. So that saves some of the sail. Now, if it doesn't show up too well, you can outline it, but be very careful. You can take a very thin brush, or you can use a pen, and you can just outline that just a little bit, and bring that out. Pick it up over here, yeah, just a little bit of a line in there. Just enough to bring out the shape of this sail. I can make the background a little bit darker also, that would help that somewhat. Or you can take like a brush. Oh, I'll use a fan brush, not a fan brush, but a liner brush, and just put a little shadow. Just put a little shadow coming down on the sail. Just pull it down like that with a line brush, just to show a little bit more contrast in that. So the sail's going to show up a little bit more. Okay, so that's about it. Now, again, you can work on this if this looks like the land's going downhill or the water's going down there. I just build it up in through there with a little bit more land, and that will make it smooth off. But let's take this tape off here. I tried to fix this tape so it would come off easier off of cardboard. You really should use like more like a masonite board. Okay, something like that. once you get it started, it's okay. Whoa, I guess. Famous last words, huh? Yeah, you get it started. And that kind of cleans up your edges a little bit more. There we go. Let's break that off there, if I can. And take it off over here. There you go. We'll get this started over here. It's a little bit tricky here. It kind of wraps over the edge. All right, there we go. I tried to fix it so it comes off a little bit easier. One more piece across the bottom here. Let's get that. Oh, okay. Here it goes. All right. Well, you probably need a little bit of fine tuning, but anyways, gives you an idea of what your picture looks like. I think possibly I got to temper this down a little bit through here. I think that's a little bit too much green. I just hit that with a little bit of white paint and touch that up into there. If I want to make it a little bit more textured, I can across in that area. Excuse me. Okay, so that's pretty much the way that works. And so we'll see you again next time. And till then, where's the brush? Let's use this one. Brush it up. Take care now.